Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Tonya Meyer and you are watching Crafty Enchantments. Today I am sharing a new card. It's been a minute since I've done any new cards and any new videos. So I wanted to take some time and share with you one of the new Dare to be Artsy stamp sets that was just released in June. This stamp set is called Breezy Blossoms. It features 3 large flower images, and it has some extra leaves and things. And I am just basically taking the coordinating dies, and I've cut those out from some Hammermill 100-pound smooth cardstock. This is the cardstock that everybody is using for hot foiling. And I'm going to take those and I'm going to use my solid hot foil plate and some of this rainbow Spellbinders hot foil, and I'm going to hot foil those flowers. So basically the flowers will end up with a rainbow hot foil look to them. So I'm cutting down the foil a little bit so I don't have any overfoiling. As you can see, I have overfoiled my plate and overfoiled some of my papers that I add to make shims. So I've got those hot foiled. I set those aside, and now I'm going to work on stamping the images, the flower images from the stamp set. I'm going to stamp these with some embossing ink onto some vellum. And I have treated my vellum with an anti-static powder tool just to make sure I don't have any staticky embossing powder sticking everywhere on my vellum. I'm going to stamp these a couple times just to make sure I get a clean image. And I did use this stamp set once before, so I did clean it off beforehand because I used VersaFine and I was concerned that the black ink would transfer, so I made sure I cleaned my stamp very well before I embossed it, before I stamped it with the embossing ink. So I'm going to go ahead and use my detail white embossing powder. I do use detail embossing powder for most of my embossing projects, just because I think it gives a little bit crisper image, and especially when you have detail images like these, I want to make sure I can get the best image possible. And I heat set those with my heat tool. With vellum, I just basically kept my heat tool moving. You don't want to keep it in one place too long until the images were melted. That just keeps the paper from warping and burning. So once I got them done, once I got them embossed, I took and cut each one out with the coordinating die, and then I ran those vellum pieces through my Xyron sticker maker. And basically what that did was it made them have an adhesive backing to them. So I'm sticking those directly to the pieces that I hot foiled, the die cut pieces that I hot foiled. And what I did find with this is that it was easier for me to cut the pieces down after I ran them through, and then I burnished them with my burnishing tool. This is my bone folder, and I just burnished those really well, just to make sure that the adhesive sticks to the back like it should, and not so it doesn't stick to any of the other areas. These are so detailed, and I didn't want to have any extra sticky pieces that I'd have to like pull off or anything like that. So burnishing them really helps with that. And then I just pulled off the release paper. And since I trimmed these down, I had to use a little tool to get the release paper started. And I was very careful when I pulled them off the backing because I was concerned that they might tear. So I pulled them from the largest end, which was the flower end. And I found that if I just pulled the release paper back towards me, that they came off really easily. And then they were super easy to line up with the foiled die cuts. I just started with the largest end and just kind of worked my way around slowly to make sure that I was getting everything lined up. And it worked out perfectly. I love that it has sort of a muted color to it. And then I found using another bone folder, I have a smaller one with a sharper tip on it. I used that and I just basically went over all of the image, being careful to stay away from the embossing areas. And that kind of brought the color back out because the Of course, the adhesive makes it look like it has a film on top of it. So I found that this kind of made them a little bit more vibrant, bringing back some of that color. It was pretty easy to do, and it didn't take me very long. Pretty quick process, and tried to get all of those areas really well. And do my second image here. I kind of love how it brings the color back to life. I did have one area where I accidentally rubbed the embossing powder too vigorously with my bone folder here, and it just pulled the embossing line right off of it. So you do have to be careful when you go over the, yep, you can see right there. You have to be careful when you go over your image. Just don't go over the embossing lines because it'll pull that right off. So my little doggy's having a dream under my desk here. So if you hear some woofing in the background, that's my dog. So I have cut a card base that's A2 in size from some 110-pound Nena cardstock. And I've also cut a piece of the, this is the Midnight Garden paper. This is part of the new release from Dare to be Artsy. It has a nice kind of sweater, I guess you could call that a sweater print. On one side, and it has this gorgeous floral called, it's like a dark floral on the back. So I've cut that with my, this is the Wavy Slimline border die from Dare to be Artsy. And I decided I needed an extra little bit of shimmer, so I'm cutting a piece of the Aztec Gold foil paper, foil cardstock from Tonic Studios. And I'm just going to put that behind just to have a little bit of shimmer peeking out from my card. I really like that added touch. And now I'm going to work on positioning my flowers. I wasn't sure. I did make 3, but I ended up only using 2. I probably could have used 3 if I had done like a regular standard size slimline, but I decided not to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some score tape to the back of these. There's the back of that gorgeous Midnight Garden flower paper. Oh, it's really pretty. This whole paper line is just gorgeous. So I really encourage you to check that out, especially if you like scrapbooking, card making. There's beautiful papers in this paper line. I'm going to grab my score pal just so I can get these lined up, because if I don't have something, I will get them crooked. It happens every time. The score pal really comes in handy. I'm going to do the same thing here with my card base. Add some more score tape to the back of that, and I did get that trimmed a little off. I ended up, once I got everything on my card base, I did trim down the edge of my card base because I noticed there was a little, just like a hair of shimmer showing underneath it because I didn't get my one piece of my cardstock cut exactly straight. So I love the white edge peeking out. I think it looks really nice. So here I am figuring out, I'm adding some glue to the back of my flowers and placing them along that curved edge. I'm just going to tuck this one in underneath on the top end of the card. Off camera, I have cut the Hello sentiment die from Dare to be Artsy. This is a layering sentiment. I originally was going to use some of that Aztec Gold cardstock, but decided to instead use white. And then I cut 2 pieces of blue cardstock, and I'm just going to layer those together. And I'm going to have the dark blue peeking out from underneath to give it a little bit of a shadow effect. I like that I can do that with this sentiment because the base layer is big enough that I can shift it just slightly. So it looks like it has a little bit of a shadow. I love that effect. Originally I was going to place this portrait, and I decided not to. I added some dimensional foam to the back of my sentiment. Now I'm going to place it on my card panel. I'm going to do this horizontal. And I'm using my little Simon Says Stamp tea roller. I put it on here originally, and I got it a little too high. So I ended up having to peel it up really carefully and move it back down. I just didn't feel like it had good space at the top. So Luckily, I did not stick it down very well. Otherwise, I would have ripped my paper and I would have been really upset with myself. So I was able to get that peeled up and repositioned. I love the way it looks. And then on the inside of my card, I used one of the sentiments from the stamp set, from the Breezy Blossoms Stamp set. I stamped the "You Are Blooming Amazing" on the inside of the card. And I just used a clear, it's like a grid alignment thing from, this is Tailored Expressions. So it's great because you can line up your sentiment and then close your Misty door and just verify that it's straight, and then you can peel off your little thing and stamp it, and your sentiment is straight on the inside. So that's a nice little tool also. And then for some finishing touches, I added some kind of clear, they're like dewdrops. They have a little bit of a color to them, but it's not real noticeable. It kind of picks up whatever colors, underneath it or whatever. So I added a few of those to my card front, and that pretty much finishes up this card. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please click like and subscribe for all of my content. Thank you for joining me today. Goodbye.